Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that I would be perfectly capable of doing what she does? I 30M have a wife 30F and a daughter 7F. I work in finance and my wife is a stay-at-home mom as I earn sufficient for the both of us. My wife is a great stay-at-home mom and takes great care of our house. I was lucky to buy a home as I earn well in a medium cost of living city. I love my wife, but she finds it humorous to say that I am incapable of doing household tasks. We had agreed that she would do them when we decided she would stay at home. But I do stuff occasionally, when we are both home if she asks me to. But then if I say load the dishwasher for her she will claim I did it wrong just because I do it different than she does. It still cleans well. The other day we were eating and she told me about her day and how she went grocery shopping and optimized the cost by buying specific items at specific stores and accounting for the cost of traveling to each store, and she made an offhanded remark that I would never be able to do that and said it in a "what would you ever do without me" kind of way. I replied back saying that of course I could do it. I handle complex decisions and calculations at my work as I work in finance, and that I have a master's degree and what I do involves more intellect than household operations, even though I acknowledged and appreciate what she does. I would be capable if the roles were reversed. She got angry and seemed to think I was calling her stupid when I wasn't, and then cried, and now I feel like an a-hole. She said she was a very good student and had she graduated she would be in my position as well. My wife and I met in college, but she was an international student studying physics and computer science, and she had issues with her loan from her home country and could not afford to complete it. And we got married then so she could stay. Initially, she wanted to complete it later after finding the funds, but she agreed to be a stay-at-home mom when I got a good job, and I appreciate that a lot as we were able to have a kid early on, even while I was both completing my master's and working full-time. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not punishing my daughter for how she rejected an autistic kid? My daughter 12 is pretty. She is in middle school, almost high school, and at the point where people are getting crushes on her and overall kinda bothering her. She hates it and doesn't see the point in dating and has started to be real blunt about it. She is pretty popular at school, and there was an incident with one of boys bullied her when she said no to the movies. It fucking sucks for her and I feel really bad for her. Now we were at the school picnic. That happens before the new year starts. It's nice and she gets to hang with her friends. Now there is a kid in her class that has been crushing on her for a while. I thought it was over when he gave up after she rejected his Valentine. He is autistic and I really thought it took him a while to understand due to that. Apparently not. He confessed to her at the picnic and she said no again. I was nearby and went over to bail her out. He started trying to convince her to get to know him. My daughter snapped and told him to leave me alone, you freak. I told you so many times. We soon left after that. I have been getting calls about teaching my daughter tolerance, and that she needs to be punished for that. I have defending her in all of that. The kid's mother called and called me an a-hole when she learned I am not punishing her. Am I the a-hole? A lot of parents think so. Yes, I taught her how to reject people nicely and firmly. It's not working for that kid. This has been the 4th time she has rejected him. She made it so clear at Valentine's. He won't stop. Also, the school was shit when she was bullied.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit for my best friend? I, 28F, and Mia 34F have been best friends for 11 years. I love her like a sister, and until now, we've never fallen out. Neither of us have family close by or a wide circle of friends, so I really want to try and resolve this issue as best I can. About 5 years ago, Mia told me that if she hadn't met a man by the time she turned 35, then she would go the sperm donor route and become a single mother. That time has now arrived, so she's planning on starting the IVF process and getting pregnant next year. I fully support her decision and think she'll make an incredible parent, with or without a partner. The problem started a couple of months ago when she casually mentioned over dinner that her future baby will love spending time with their Annie Op. I laughed and reminded her I've never had any maternal instincts, so the three of us will need to hang out as a trio because I'll be new to being auntie. She asked what I meant, so I clarified. I wouldn't be babysitting, as I'm not comfortable being responsible for small children on my own, but I would happily spend time with both of them together. Mia went quiet and then moved the conversation along, so I didn't think much else of it. Fast forward to yesterday when we were in her car and Mia unexpectedly launches in a story about her friend in Spain who also used a sperm donor to become a single mother. And her friendship circle have been helping look after the baby so she can continue building her career. Mia then said having a strong female support network is so important when raising children. I love that we would do anything for each other. I noticed she was putting a big emphasis on childcare, so again, I reminded her I wouldn't be able to babysit, but was quick to let her know I would support in any other way I could. I told her I could cook, clean, keep her company, be at the hospital, buy her child whatever they need. Anything outside of babysitting solo. She laughed and said, "It's so funny. You have no idea how much you're going to love this baby. You'll enjoy taking care of your godchild more than you realize." Alarm bells were going off, so I admittedly took a blunt tone and told her it's not going to be my kid, it's hers. And I'm not comfortable with the responsibility of looking after a baby on my own. I have sensory issues and anxiety. Screaming kids make me panic in a big way. I'm not doing it and I'm not changing my mind. She looked genuinely hurt and said most people would do anything to help out a single mom and she couldn't understand why I wouldn't want to do this for her. She also said it's worrying and abnormal for me to be so nervous about looking after a baby, and mentioned she doesn't have anyone else to help, so this has come as a horrible surprise. She dropped me home and we haven't spoken since. I feel awful about all of it. Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for yelling at the woman who asked my wife if she was pregnant? My 39M wife 38F has had a couple complete strangers ask her if she is pregnant. Today, I was there for the encounter and gave the woman a very hard time about it. Backstory: my wife and I are happily married with 3 kids, 8, 5, and 2. We struggled with fertility early on, but have been blessed in having 3 awesome kids. My wife is not obese or fat by any means. She carries some extra skin, weight in her stomach area, following giving birth to 3 full-term kids. This is no issue in our relationship, and she even sees a doctor regularly. None of us has commented a need to lose weight. This year, we've had 3 encounters with total strangers asking her about being pregnant. One involved a man asking if she was pregnant when she got on an amusement park ride. One was a random woman at a department store asking her the same. All situations to 3 of my children were present. Both I was not present for. Both very much upset my wife understandably, and I was left to pick up the pieces. Today, I was there with all 3 of my kids. When a stranger striking polite conversation asked her if another was on the way, I had it. I asked her WTF was wrong with her and how she would like it. If some total stranger asked her if she was pregnant, I also told her that no normal person would ever bring that question into casual conversation. She apologized before we walked out separate ways. Am I the a-hole for this? Do people normally bring this up as casual conversation? I understand the ride operator at the amusement park, I guess, but feel everyone else was out of line. I would never ask any woman, even those I know who are pregnant, about their pregnancies, ever.
This girl I hooked up with has a boyfriend, and I didn't know. I 20M started going to university. At the beginning of fall last year and during the freshers intro, I met this girl Kate 20F. She was stunning. She had black hair, but her green eyes couldn't make me take my eyes off her. Her and her flatmates ended up eating dinner with us that day, and I struck up a conversation with her and got her Instagram. I proceeded to not see her for the next couple of weeks because I had a lot of classes. I then met her at a bar when I went out with my friends Ray 20M, and I found out my best friend was dating one of her flatemates. They knew each other from the age of like 6. I struck up another conversation with Kate. The bar was very loud and we were slightly intoxicated, and she thought it'd be a good idea for to sit on my lap so I could hear her better. Nothing happened further beyond that night, but the morning after Ray told me that one of her flatmates had a thing for Kate. and had bought her drinks and everything that night. I had met him before, and he was a good guy, and Ray said in a joking manner that I stole the Jude's girl. I knew he meant it in a light-hearted way, but I genuinely did feel bad, so the next time we went out as a group I got him his drinks and told him to honestly shoot his shot. For context, he isn't a very confident guy, but most girls would find him attractive. He's at about 6'0" Caucasian, and I'm a 6'0" African. Anyway, he ends up talking to her, and I decide to leave the bar at around midnight to give them their space. Later at around 2 in the morning, she texts me asking me why I had left, and that the night wasn't as fun without me around. I had already had several drinks when I had come back, so I suggested 4 afters at mine. We slept together. It was amazing. She then sent a snap to someone who I didn't know at the time was her boy friend, which I found out a couple of days later. He found my Instagram and sent me a message being all confrontational because he assumed I knew they were dating. I didn't, and I took advantage of the fact that he wasn't around. Now it's kinda weird between both of our friend groups, and I don't know what to do. Any advice would be highly appreciated.
Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that my mother will never love her and to stop trying? I have been married to my wife for 2 years, and the best way to describe my mother is cold. She's not rude or anything, it's just disinterested in my wife. The best way I can explain my mom is that she is tired. She had a really hard life, doesn't have much affection left to give, and she rarely gets close to anyone. It's pure disinterest, and she can't bring herself to care about new people. She's a retired old lady that just wants to sit on the porch, not make small talk with people. I've explained this to my wife before and told my mother's story. We had a little get-together at my mom's house. My mom doesn't like it when people bring food. She works all day to make a spread, and it's like her thing. She just wants to provide for the guests. My wife came from work and she brought food, potato salad. I stop her from bringing it in. The whole night she is just bothering her when she was on the porch, asking her if she wants to go on a shopping trip. When my mom asks for some quiet, she still talks on. When I was walking by, she asked me to take my wife away from her. This made my wife upset, but I did it since I could see mom was getting close to the end of her rope. We had a talk in the car what that was all about, and she just wants to be loved by her mother-in-law. She is being nice, so she doesn't get why she doesn't like her. I told her my mother will never love her and to just stop. What she is doing is actively making her dislike you, and to leave the women alone. She called me a jerk and hasn't spoken to me since. Edit. I was told to include this comment from an info comment. Almost never. Most of the time, if people join her on the porch, it's very little small talk, or just join her watching the garden. She doesn't care how loud they are in the house or anything like that. She likes watching others have a good time, more of an observer than anything. She asked for quiet with my wife, since she was just going on for a while. My sister was out there and told me mom tried politer ways to ask for her to be quiet, and it didn't work. Also, the direct request didn't work with my wife and she kept going. So, am I the a-hole? What happened to the bully in your class?
His father was caught stealing millions from the community. Dad was a wealth manager, and all his clients were friends and neighbors in a sort of small town. The family was really put through the ringer of embarrassment, and the bully was a wreck for a long time. I guess he realized all the wealth and arrogance that he grew up with was stolen from everyone he knew. I saw him years later, and it was like seeing a different person. He had changed his name, walked differently, and held himself with a different posture. We spoke for a few minutes, and it was almost like he was genuinely interested in me. He didn't go out and say sorry for what he had done, but it seemed like he wanted to, but though it would be tacky. Maybe I'm reading too much into that interaction, but it was a little weird. It was like he had been forcing himself to be an actual nice guy.
Am I the a-hole for being upset that my relative gifted me intimate hygiene products for my birthday? I 20-something F I am having a birthday coming up soon as of posting this. It's actually tomorrow. I rarely receive gifts from relatives, though sometimes they send cards. Two of my relatives are going to be staying with my parents and I for a little while soon, as we live in a pretty touristy destination. It was kinda last minute, but no big deal. Anyway, so one of the relatives in question, we will call her Lynn, she's in her 60s, tells my mother that she was going to send a present to me in the mail, and also was going to be mailing some of her personal supplies. I'm not sure why. Maybe so there's not issues with TSA. So to be on the lookout for both of those packages. I, admittedly, was kind of excited. Lynn is known for being a bit eccentric, usually sending silly socks or even funny hats and the sort. And I'm honestly just grateful to be given any gift, considering my age. Or so I thought. Today, my mother goes to get the mail and comes back in with a medium-sized box. She said she wasn't sure if it was for me, and I look at the box. The box has a huge brand on the back, and I immediately recognize it as being famous for being advertised as deodorant for your privates. I laughed at this, and immediately assumed it was for Lynn, and joked about how the box could stand to be a little more discreet. My mother didn't know what the brand was, nor that it was so heavily marketed as what it was. About an hour ago, I came downstairs to see what we were going to make for dinner, and my mother hands me the box again, and says it's for me. I look at the box, and it's the same one from earlier. I assume she's joking, so I laugh and hand the box back to her and give her a sarcastic thank you. I honestly still think she's joking until she says you could stand to be a little more grateful. Lynn and I aren't that close, and we certainly aren't close enough for her to unprompted send me that kind of thing as a gift. My mother is angry at me now, and says I should just take the gift and be happy about it, but I, on the other hand, feel really gross about the whole thing. I might understand if it was a unique bar of soap, or some weird eclectic body wash, but the product is very clearly and loudly marketed as a deodorant for your privates. I'm a very reserved person, and I don't feel comfortable sharing that aspect of my life with my relatives. Beyond all else, it just feels humiliating to me. My father also said, I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but I can't shake how invasive and weird this feels. I'm almost certain they wouldn't feel this way if one of my male relatives had sent this product to me, but I know it's not fair to raise that point. They're both telling me I'm being ridiculous and ungrateful for the gift, and I honestly am starting to believe that they're right and that I should just be happy to have gotten anything for my birthday at all. Am I the a-hole? What's a harmless, non-serious secret you've kept forever?
My mom was a meth addict, so my siblings and I grew up with very little. Normally, she would pull her head out of her ass enough around the holiday season to sign up with the church or charity to get us a food box and some presents. However, by the time I was 11, she was so far gone, we could go weeks without seeing her leave her room or her be completely gone from the house. I entered a drawing contest at my school around this time. I won a $100 gift certificate to our local mall. One day, after making sure my siblings made it to school, I played hooky and walked to the mall about 3.5 miles. I bought my 3 siblings some presents, almost forgot to get myself something. Ended up buying some discounted body wash, then had them wrapped there at the mall before trekking home. I hid the presents in the crawl space till the 24th. I was right. Our mom did nothing when my siblings were distracted by a movie. I snuck out and put the box of presents on the front porch, before knocking and running away. I snuck back in the back door by the bathroom, and heard my siblings yelling, "Someone left a box on the porch that says Merry Christmas." I had also spent the last week before winter break going door to door asking for canned food donations, saying it was for a food drive at my church. I didn't have a church, so that we didn't spend the whole winter break hungry. I'm so glad all 4 of us made it out of our childhood, and not one of us took the same path as the woman who birthed us.